Today, we're diving into the mind of Blaise Pascal, who was without a doubt one of history's most fascinating and intense contradictions. This was a man with the mind of a scientific genius, but the soul of a morbid poet. He saw our deepest fears and our greatest hopes all tangled up together. And it all starts with this one simple knockout of a line. Think about that. Hundreds of years ago, Pascal basically diagnosed our modern anxiety to a T. We just can't standing alone with ourselves. And for him, that wasn't just a small problem, it was the problem. So, how did he get there? Well, to get why he thought this, you've got to understand that Pascal himself was a total walking paradox. He was a child prodigy in math and science, but after a life full of sickness and one really bizarre spiritual event, he just abandoned it all. He gave it up to chase after God and the meaning of it all. I mean, his life story is just wild. At 12 years old, he's figuring out complex geometry on his own. By 19, he's building the world's first mechanical calculator. The guy is a certified giant of the scientific revolution. But then, when he's 31, he has this incredibly powerful religious vision he called the Night of Fire. And just like that, everything changes. His entire focus shifts to this collection of notes, the Pensées, or thoughts, a philosophical masterpiece he actually never even got to finish. And this right here just perfectly shows you the two worlds he was living in. On one side, you have the scientist, right? The guy who comes up with probability theory and invents the hydraulic press, a world of pure, cold logic. And on the other side, you have the theologian, the guy wrestling with the human condition, with sin and redemption, and of course, his famous wager. It's kind of hard to believe this all came from just one person. So, to really get why he pivoted so hard to theology, we have to go somewhere kind of dark. We have to visit what you could call our inner museum of horrors. This was his big diagnosis of what it means to be human. He argued that deep, deep down, we are absolutely terrified of our own emptiness, that void inside us. So, how do we deal with that terror? Well, his big answer was a single word: diversion. And for Pascal, this isn't just, having a bit of fun. No. This is a desperate, frantic escape from ourselves. It is literally anything we do to build a wall between us and the silence in our own heads. We fill that silence with constant noise. We jump from one distraction to the next, just an endless stream of diversions. And we fill our minds with worry about what's coming next. We will do anything, literally anything, to avoid just being here, now, in this moment, with ourselves. And Pascal put it best himself. He said that if you take away all these distractions, people get bored to extinction. But here's the thing. It's not just garden variety boredom. That feeling is the moment we come face to face with our own nullity, our own emptiness. And he believed there was nothing in the world more miserable than that feeling. Okay, so after dragging us through that pretty grim museum of horrors, what's his solution? What's the way out? Well, this brings us to his most famous, most debated idea, a cold, logical argument for belief that we now call Pascal's wager. Now, this is super important. This is not a proof that God exists, not even close. It's a risk assessment. It's a bet. Pascal, the master of probability, is using the tools of a gambler to appeal to our own rational self-interest. Okay, let's break down the bet. He says you've got two choices. You can bet on God. If you're right and he exists, you get infinite gain. Heaven, eternal life, the whole deal. If you're wrong and he doesn't exist, what did you lose? A few earthly pleasures, a finite loss. Now, let's flip it. You bet against God. If you're wrong and he does exist, you face infinite loss. If you're right, all you get is those same finite pleasures. For Pascal, when you lay out the odds like that, there's only one logical bet to make. But what if we take Pascal's cold, hard logic and apply it to something else? Not to the afterlife, but to this life. Right here, right now. This is where his idea gets a really interesting modern secular twist. And that's the big question. Can we use the exact same framework to make a bet, not on God, but on whether our own existence has any inherent value or meaning? Look at this. The logic holds up perfectly. Let's say you bet on meaning. You choose to live as if your life is valuable and has purpose. If you're right, fantastic. You win the experience of a positive, fulfilling life. But what if you're wrong? What if life is totally meaningless? Well, you still lived a meaningful life. You've lost absolutely nothing. Now, bet against meaning. You live a life of cynicism and dejection. If you're right, What's your prize? You get the satisfaction of being correct about how awful everything is? That's a pretty lousy trophy, isn't it? When you see it laid out like that, the smart bet seems just as obvious. And this all circles back to the most powerful and maybe surprising takeaway from Pascal's whole philosophy. Because hidden inside all that grim talk about our wretchedness, there's actually a profound message about human strength. I mean, that is such a powerful idea. A tree doesn't know it's a tree. It just is. But we are aware of our own condition. And for Pascal, our ability to see our own flaws, to know that we are wretched, isn't a weakness. He says that is the source of our greatness. It's the essential first step to becoming something more. So really, what Pascal is teaching us is that real strength isn't about pretending the darkness and the emptiness don't exist. It's about staring right into that void, acknowledging it's there, and then making the conscious choice to search for hope and meaning anyway. And so, in the end, Pascal leaves us with a very personal, very urgent question. Because whether we realize it or not, we are all making this bet every single day with the way we choose to live. We are all placing a wager. So the only question left is, how are you placing yours?